Hello. Welcome to Cinemondo. Hello, everyone. We are here and we're doing part 2 of our coverage of King of Kotha. Our first part 1 was at Matt's channel, D54. You go there first, see that first. If you're coming from his channel, you're now seeing part 2. We'll be doing part 3 with Melanie. So we're moving ourselves around so you know who's next. So we're continuing. We were talking with Amit about Dulquer's performance in King of Kotha and how much we thought he actually really delivered. He's getting a little grief for this. I think people don't necessarily like to see him in this kind of mode for some reason, but I thought he did it really well and that he brought a lot of humanity to a villain and he made him likable but also terrifying, which is, you know, a good. He's not just one-dimensionally terrifying or that kind of like cheesy, like, but I'm a good guy, but I'm a bad guy. Like he really did bring extra layers. So I actually was really impressed by him because we've talked about it. We've been seeing a lot of Dulquer lately, and I'm watching Guns of Gulabs, which I'm getting all like confused. And we talked about how some of the lines maybe aren't translating because of the subtitles. And I'm noticing that actually with Guns of Gulabs because I'm actually accidentally, but now I'm like, oh, maybe I'll keep going with the English the English language with the subtitles. What's fascinating is how different the subtitles are from the English language that they're doing. Lots more profanity, a lot heavier, hard-hitting dialogue that then is really sanitized in the subtitles. It's very strange.
Well, that can be a Netflix thing, though, too.
Yeah, I mean, they don't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, but I mean,
maybe for Indian content more.
Maybe, and maybe the translators just don't want to go there. I don't, but you know. But I love hearing the English because I feel like I'm getting another more true to the dialogue actually than I would have just hearing the actual language. So at first I was bummed, but then I'm like, well, I'm kind of liking it. They're doing a good job. Anyway, so that being said, so then we come into Dulquer.
Yeah. Well, the last point we made on our video on his channel was about the transition between first half and the way Dulquer acts, and then when he comes back to town as this retired contract killer, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm a good guy now. I'm a good guy.
Yeah. What was it? He was a population control.
Yeah. So funny. That was very cute.
I especially noticed that even more the second time because the first half, I mean, we've seen Dulquer show himself being in love. Like, you know, I felt like he really had that young man out of control thing. And let's remember, Dulquer, the actor, just turned 40. And I felt like in the second half, when he comes back, he has this gravitas to him. He has this control that, like, when he was a young man and he was leader of this group of guys, he was just all emotions, all over the place, no control. You know, he would just have all these outbursts and whatever. And then everything was controlled. And not only that, like, he was so competent, like, right?
Yeah.
You know, he had done all this research because there was all these gaps. Like, you know, he disappeared 3 weeks later. Well, then he comes back and he knows everything about everybody, you know?
I was doing some studying while I was gone. And,
so he had put all these plans into place, whereas in the first half, everything was just impulsive, reacting to what was happening in the moment. Nothing was planned out. And Conan was the one in the first half, like, maybe we should plan a duel. Like, whatever, we just work for today, you know? So it was a total contrast, and I thought he did that really well of showing okay, this is an older, like an old lion, like who just sits there and is quiet, what could just explode, but is controlled and just is waiting to pounce. That's the vibe.
And it's even like a physical makeover, right? I just sort of thought of that. Like when he comes back, he's looking like the hair slicked back, and he's wearing nice, crispy shirts. In the first half, he's like basically just like he's messy. He's sort of all over the place, which is sort of indicative of sort of how he is. Like once that happens with Tara, he's like a whole mess and he can't get over it. Whereas we don't ever see that side of him in the second half. Like we see that, but it's much more controlled. He loses his father and he's obviously in grief, but he's controlled, not a wreck.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see. So he was. I mean, he carried this movie. It was his movie, and it was definitely a Dulquer vehicle more than anything else, more than any of the other movies. If I have to compare with other ones, like even other ones, like we talked about second show, and he had a lot of help from Sunny Wayne in that one. I think to sort of carry him. In Kurup, the other one that I think is very popular as well. Like Shan Chako, almost steals a show from him at times. He's so good. And you have other cameos. This movie,
Kamani Padam, it's more like Khan and some of the other actors that really stole the show. So I totally agree with you. Totally agree.
That's a very good point. Yeah, really good point. And he was in almost every scene. This is like one of those movies that you feel like he's in almost every scene. There's maybe a few cutaways to the villain in his lair, but mostly it was about Dulquer, his journey, taking us with him, like it or not. I liked the messy Dulquer, honestly, but we'll get to that. But I liked, the way he went from here, kind of like got a little more controlled, and then he's like using this control to be even more malevolent and powerful, which you were like, whoa, what? Like, it really did feel like a Game of Thrones there at the end.
But I will tell you, talking about some of the other people, I did feel like our villain Kanan. I literally, the first time I saw this movie, I looked him up as like after his first scene because I'm like, who is this guy?
Yes, he was great.
He's fantastic.
Kabir Kalarakal, if I'm saying it correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not, but I felt like he had so much presence.
Yes,
and I'm like, who is this guy? Who is this guy?
Oh, he's
and he just, and he also went through a transformation because in the flash scenes, you can just see he's the buddy. He's just there, and he loves Dulquer. He'll do anything for him. And then the swagger that he has in the later scene. How about the confrontation with the cop at the beginning of the film? Oh my god!
Oh god, so good.
So much swagger. Just any time he was just walking, like he just had, he carried himself. And then there's a scene where he really, he has this drink with Dulquer in Dulquer's hotel room, pretends he's so drunk, and leaves. And like, past it was like almost like a Godfather Fredo thing, Bye, and then as he walks out of the hotel room, suddenly he straightens up and you see he wasn't drunk at all.
Yeah, that was a great move. That was good.
He was trying to get Dulquer impaired so that when the assassin showed up, the assassin would have more of a chance.
Nope. Not gonna have a chance.
Nope.
No,
actually, he's
not gonna happen.
No. Just to quickly add to that before passing back to you, Kathy. He's actually he's fan. I agree with you completely. He was such a good villain, I thought, and he's actually, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Sarapata Parambari.
But I heard that is his. I heard that's his.
Yeah, so he plays so he's not even the main villain or the main lead sort of in that. He's kind of a character. He's sort of a side character, but he plays a character called Dancing Rose. It's a boxing movie. Fantastic. I highly recommend it, actually. It's really good. But like the shades of him like there, but in this I think he was even better because it's a much bigger role, and exactly the suave he has is just so good. It's so good because like honestly, Dulquer, it takes a while for us to see Dulquer, right? It takes a while. So it's a lot of him and the cop sort of carrying that sort of first, I would say 30 minutes, 25 minutes at least.
I know. First I'm like, am I the right movie? What's going on here? That's right. They did take some time.
And then Dulquer gets the whole big hero entry. See the foot.
I loved. He had those two great silhouette entries that just worked, just miracles every time. It was so great. And they didn't even really show him after the first one. Like you just saw a silhouette, and then he was gone. You saw a little bit of rim light. God, that was gorgeous. That was amazing. That was great. Correct. So that segues into our next topic. What did you guys think went well? What do you think worked in this movie?
I mean, I think Dulquer's portrayal worked really well. I thought the villain was really good. I I come out with quibbles about the way Tara was written because I feel like she was kind of a cardboard cutout, just kind of there to be further plot things and for things to happen to Dulquer, not because she was so much her own person. And frankly, Manju, played by Naila Osha, had more presence on screen. Nothing against Aishwarya, she just really didn't have a lot to work with.
No, I think very much. She was just a girlfriend.
And they kind of also, I mean, we saw some scenes of what in a music video that obviously were cut from the movie or maybe never intended to be in the movie. And frankly, it would have added, like, I could have had a little less soccer, a little less football game.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit more of how did they meet? How did they fall in love rather than immediately going into romantic dinner with all of his goons at the next table. Like that was really our introduction to their love story. Yeah. Like Dulquer sold it that he was really in love, but I was kind of like, why? Okay,
I wasn't getting that. You're right. It was underwritten for sure.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I think for me, I will say some things that really worked well. I completely agree with you on sort of the It's a shame because I think we'll touch on that in a bit. But in terms of the first half I liked even more because of Chemban Vinod. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
He was so good. I mean, every time I see him, I just I smile because he's such a good character actor. Anytime he's in for like a short amount of time, I know it's going to be great, memorable, everything. Yeah. But him just struggling to speak English.
That was really funny.
So, I'm gonna cut him into pieces, and then I'm gonna throw. He's like so lost.
So funny.
And it's so good. He keeps speaking like he's like we get it. I love how they keep repeating the joke, but it works every single time. That's not usual. It's like normally I'm like, really all right, funny. I get it, but every time I'm like, this is so good, so funny. He was great. Also, I want to mention the action in this is really good. Like I think the action. It's not. I often wait for Malayalam movies to really have a really great action movie. Because like we see that in Hollywood all the time. We see it in sort of Tamil movies, but Malayalam movies, like I just see snippets of it. I'll see one scene where they'll do something really cool. I'm like, oh my god, wow! And then we'll move over to like the more storyline drama and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, but this movie was like, no, we're doubling down on the action. This is going to have some multiple action sequences, and some of them were just really memorable. I think the one that we're all going to remember the most is the one with the pens. That was insane.
So good.
And the pen, like
the jugular vein in the pen.
Show up, and I love Cunnin's mother's like, did these kids not know any history?
Exactly.
I love it. I just love her little comments in the back too, like.
Correct.
That was so fun. And it was really strange how when this was going down, where he gets a pen and he's shanking everyone in sight, and he's just stab, and then. She's sitting in her car. We have another woman who's sitting behind the snack stand. They're just kind of watching. Yeah. No one's impressed at all. It's like, this happens all the time. We're not even going to comment on it. It was strange. Their reactions. I didn't quite understand that, but I guess they were expecting it.
I think if you're Cunnin's mother, you might have seen some things.
I know, but still, a little bit of reaction. I think they could have used a little. But speaking of that, like what works well, I hope I'm not cutting you off real quick, but we'll go back to what you think was working. But the comedy, you were talking about the dialogue, and his friend who was always funny. That's one thing I wish there was a little more of in this movie, little more humor, because it was playing it so earnestly straight that when it had a little bit of humor, it was such a relief, and you felt like they humanized everyone. It felt a little more well-rounded. But I wish there'd been, and it didn't have to be hilarious, but after you see like, stuff like Guns and Gulabs, and that's more comedy, but just having that little bit of humor, really, it feels like there's bigger stakes because these people are funny and they have emotions and they can have happiness and joy. There wasn't a ton of happiness and joy in this movie at all. Like, I felt like, what's he really striving for? It's like bad or a little bit worse bad, or it just didn't bring that. So, but we're talking about what was working well was that little bit of humor.
Definitely. No, that's why I really miss Chemban in the second half. Because I was like, he's, his absence made it so that there's nobody. It's just gone. It's just completely dull now. And I guess it has a really serious tone, but it almost got so serious it became almost cartoonish at times. Like, some of like, as much as I love the action, like it became like a little bit. There's not much tension anymore, and there's nothing else to really give me an outlet with the comedy. So no, I definitely agree with you, and that's a great point. Actually, I will say one more thing: that the music. We should talk about the music.
I was going to tell you the music was amazing.
Yeah. My God, it's
really
so good.
Okay, like he does great work, but I saw something that he retweeted this week. I have to share it with you guys. But he gave a laugh emoji because somebody had posted a video of some guy playing drums and his drumsticks are on fire. And it basically makes for joy anytime Dulquer's coming on screen.
Oh, that's funny. That is awesome.
The guy just,
that's hilarious.
Fire. It's so rare for me to be like, I had a 40-minute drive home. I immediately went on Spotify and looked for the soundtrack and listened to it all the way home because it's so amazing. Awesome.
It's so awesome. Fire. I liked it because it was customized to the scene. Like a lot of times movies will do the soundtrack and then they plug it in. Like here's a suspense theme, kind of playing off the main theme, and here's some more love theme. This had like custom music every step of the way. They didn't overplay the theme at all. Like it had like here's an action scene, we're gonna have this action music. Here's another action scene, we're gonna tailor this music a little differently for this action scene to get a different emotion. Really impressive to see that range of music they were using throughout that. I was like, wow, this guy was really working hard on this one. Like amazing.
I think Jace Joy did the really heavy drum, kind of theme music, the opening credits and stuff. And then the more lyrical melodic songs were actually, I think, done by A.R. Rahman's son.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's right.
That's crazy.
And I'm not sure if he was also the singer. I'm guessing he might have been, but
that's good.
It was fine, but I'm just telling you what I went out was rocking to, let's bow down to the King of Kotha, right? Like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, definitely. So good.
I mean, it works so well, like, because obviously, they keep us waiting for that, finally that reveal. But when it comes, oh my God, is it worth it? When he gets out the car and that music is blaring, you're like, whoa.
So and I like that they did it twice at the end. They have that great entry scene at the beginning, but then they did it again at the end, and it still worked. It's still great. Him just in the silhouette. He's there, then he's gone. And he's so good. I really love that. And I also appreciated his the guy at the end. Of course, these are spoilers. The guy at the end who switched sides. And he's kind of his cohort now. I was talking to Melanie. Was that like the Fahad Fawcell kind of like double who was in there? He looked so much like Fahad Fawcell. I'm like, what? And then I'm like, why was he in this? But anyway, so what did you think didn't work? This movie's getting some grief, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. I just didn't think it was fatal. But tell me what you guys think.
It's not fatal, but it's 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I literally watching it the second time I timed how long was this soccer game, because I mean it's supposed to show a couple of things: that he's beloved by the town, that even his rival gangster guy Uchenban Vinod comes to watch him play soccer. Okay,
got the point. Okay,
and his sister comes out and greets him, and the mother takes her away. Okay, but we get some of those same things in other scenes. And I don't know. I just kind of felt like, that dragged. And also at the end, it was like a video game to me.
I loved this analogy.
First person shooter, but then I was kind of like, okay, we didn't have the final boss. We have another final boss. But like, it was just, it was almost too many. Like the one where he gets tied up was almost anticlimactic when we got to the final and he was using guns. Like, I want to see him kill people with pens again. Come on.
Yeah, come on, man. I want to see pens. I want to see more pens.
Correct.
And also it was kind of like you build to the big battle. And this, like the story beats were, because it was too long, they had a bunch, so people wouldn't get bored. They threw in some big fights, big battles, big scenes. And like you're saying, he's tied up. That should have been the big finale, really. It should have been like end of movie, you cut, he's gone. Or something like that. Like maybe there's a longer, prolonged torture scene, or maybe there's more, maybe his friends being tortured, whatever it is. But I feel like they kept doing these same intensity, big battle finale scenes over and over again. And by that point, you were getting kind of like, okay. And then I felt like the final battle that did happen was kind of anticlimactic. He fell over in a chair. That's what the big boss, that's how you're going to kill him. is he falls over in a chair. It was awkward. It wasn't very heroic. I get what they were kind of humiliating him, but it was a little disappointing.
Yeah, I did like it that it was the twist that this other kid was the one that actually killed.
Yeah, I did love that.
I think he was the kid that we saw from the beginning that stopped the cop on the
yes,
to get money.
I think I just didn't like the staging of it. Like I love that. I love bringing in the kid who needs his revenge, but the staging was awkward and weird, and I didn't quite understand why that had to be the big last scene.
It didn't land. It didn't land with the impact that it should have.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. It was it feels like I mean, I did like how he sort of speaks English as well, the son. that sort of cracked me up as well. But it felt like it was just sort of rushed in last minute. Like it's like, oh, how do we make this even cooler? Let's put a climax at the end. Oh, why don't we just introduce his son? Okay, cool. Like
at that point, pile it on.
Yeah, I was like, all right, this doesn't really add any more value to me. But no, the length of time it just dragged on, and I think it just became like, so when he comes back, he kills the son-in-law. Like actually Nala Usha's son, who turns out to be another twist. It's just for the sake of it. That's sort of there, and then after that he fights a whole bunch of that's a pen scene, a whole bunch of kids, I'm guessing. Then he gets attacked by an assassin. Then he's taking down so many people at this point. I'm like, how are you gonna make this end battle gonna even work? What they could have done, what I was thinking was afterwards, they spent a bit more time actually working on the Cunning's role a bit more and showed him to be a real badass as well. While he's been gone, he's actually been getting stronger and stronger, and he's become the new whatever Dulquer's character was, Raju. He's become the new Raju, and people fear him even more than Raju. That would have created some tension, because at the end I was like, when Cunning says, I have a new K team, and he brings out 100 guys, I'm like, I've just seen him take down like the same amount of people. What difference is it going to make? And now he has guns. This is going to be like a piece of cake for him. So the tension wasn't really there in those action sequences, which I feel like for those, if you're going to focus on action and make it a spectacle, like say RRR did, to go from the other extreme, like they have such creative action where you're like, I could not have imagined them doing anything like this ever. But this was so like stereotypical, it felt like. And even in general, like this theme of movie there's so many tropes in this movie, like father son not talking to each other, like father mother and son not talking to each other, old childhood friendship destroyed, the girlfriend gets killed. Like this, we've seen seen everything they've done in this movie, and they've just thrown it all in here. Also, I would love for your opinion, Kathy and Melanie, on the character of Aishwarya Lakshmi. Unfortunately, like we touched on it before, but such a talented actress like she is, like she is a lead actress, like she leads movies. To have her just in a role where she's just complete, as you mentioned before, cardboard, no substance at all, not even much lines or screen time. Like, why? I didn't really understand. That could have been a real focus of this movie.
You cut out one fight scene and add more scenes with her, and you can still have your 2 hours and 45 minutes, even though you don't really need that.
Definitely.
Or more backs. Or I was thinking, especially after the second time watching, what's the other most interesting relationship? It's more Dulquer with his father in the film, who was a rowdy, and that he wanted. There's a line in there that he wanted, somebody else wanted to be a cop, and he wanted to be a rowdy just as bad as his dad. I couldn't really tell what the cartoon prologue, as the opening credits, and I'm like, what exactly was going on there? It wasn't completely clear, right? Was it that his dad killed a teacher, or I was still, I'm not clear exactly what happened in that prologue. If it was supposed to show Raju and Khan and his kids getting into trouble or defending each other, I still am not clear on that. And I would have liked a little bit more of maybe how about a scene of the father being a badass in the past and Raju seeing him being a badass and wanting to emulate that, and that there could have been more depth to his character by showing why was there this break with the mother, why did she stop talking to him. They just they told us, but they didn't show us. They told us that these things existed, but they didn't show us why. And I'm really, okay, Dulquer wants to do something different than pure romance, which he's done many times. Get it. But as you said, a little bit less fight scene and just a smidgen more with her would have gone so much further in adding depth to her character and to their relationship. And why did she wait? Like you're kind of left at the interval point that you're like, okay, why didn't she just leave town? Like, you know what I mean? We just were told that her father was killed because of her continuing conflict with Conan, but we're not shown it. We're just told this. And
so basically, basically it needs a tighter script. It needed another polish. That script needed about 10 more polishes. It needed a tighter edit. I know, like we've talked about before, I get probably in love with some of these scenes. I just didn't want to get rid of them. It's like, but a better script overall would have solved all of the problems it's having right now. The other little thing I wanted to point out that I did like, that I did think was the sets were really great. It almost looked like a theater production part of it, where they had the big town square and they would go up on the upper balconies and they would drive cars through it. It just felt very contained, and I loved the retro look of it. It was very cool. So I loved music. All the tech credits were impeccable, really. I mean, everything was great. The only thing, that script was just not quite there. It didn't explain, didn't explain a lot of the female characters. It didn't really explain why they had to keep fighting and why people didn't leave. And so it just had that classic, just one more, 10 more times, go back and rewrite a little bit. That's what it needed. But overall, but again, not fatal, but things would have improved the movie, I think. So the last little question we have, and this is, then we'll go on and then we're going to talk to Melanie about what bigger ideas in this movie. What about the backlash we're seeing for this movie? There's a little bit of backlash. There's a little bit of hate. It was all this love before it came out, and then everybody just lost their shit. What do you think happened?
Yeah, I think it's I feel really well. Firstly, I feel really like I feel quite bad for a lot of people involved in this movie because
they work so hard.
That's the thing. At the end of the day, we're coming as viewers, but we have to understand that people making this movie are people. Like, they put their effort in, they put their time, they put everything into this. Like, Dulquer put so much of his own personal time promoting this movie, and it means a lot to him. So that is unfair. I think it's not unfair that it's not succeeded. Look, it's not a perfect movie, and it has we've discussed some of the negatives, and there's a reason why people don't like this movie. That's fine, but I do think that some of the backlash that Dulquer is getting specifically is a bit too much. Personally, I feel I think, look, he's an actor at the end of the day, right? So he delivers the lines that he's given. He might improvise a little bit here and there, but at the end of the day, if we have issues with the dialogue, it's to do with the writing, and if it's issue with the writing, it's probably to do with the fact that they're trying to cater it to so many audiences, which they haven't done before. The Malayalam industry has not done too much of these big pan-Indian kind of movies. We think like a KGF or an RRR, these ones, or even like a Vikram or any Talapati Vijay movies. Like, they are made to go across the board, or Bollywood movies are made to go across the whole of India as well. But Malayalam movies are so contained, so to see them just do this for the first time, it's a bit harsh to be like, this is a failure, and Dulquer should never be people are saying he should not be a mass star anymore. Like, he can't carry, he doesn't have charisma.
No, get this.
What are you talking about? He was
charisma.
I know. I'm like, that to me is a little bit too much, and I feel really bad about that. So I think it's unwarranted. This movie is definitely enjoyable. It's definitely enjoyable in the cinema. I think we all talked about when we talked about last time. We saw it in a pretty empty cinema. Our cinemas were not full. If you saw this in India, in Kerala somewhere, with a full packed out audience, and people going crazy to when Dulquer first reveals himself, or when he chokes the guy with his bare hands and everyone in shock, or some of the scenes, you just be like, whoa, you're turning around to all your friends and all your mates and being like, what's going on? So I think, it's definitely enjoyable, and I just feel it's a bit unwarranted and unfair. How about yourself, Melanie or Kathy? What do you think,
I was just going to say, I also come back to the fact that I give a lot of leeway when it's a debut director, right? And I think also the screenwriters, I don't know if this, is the very first thing that they've done, but it's probably the biggest thing that they have ever tried to do, right? And so I give a lot of leeway. There's a lot of things that did work, but it is this is a collaborative process. As you said, Dulquer was given lines. He did the best that he could with what he was given. but it's also, okay, they filmed all this stuff, but they fell in love with certain things and they didn't, it's also a good editor could have made a big difference.
Yeah.
Even if you had all this footage, it doesn't mean you have to keep all of it, right?
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of films are made in the editing room. So, and it can make a huge impact on, how short or how long a scene is can really make a difference. So I chalk some things up to inexperience, and would I want to see something else from this director again? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think as we said, the period details are great. It's the kind of genre that how much can you do something that's truly fresh and new when it's this kind of gang against gang kind of thing? I mean, what are you really expecting? Because people are not writing some kind of completely original sci-fi, some planet that we've never seen before, right? And I'm fine with seeing tropes done well. Like I kind of like seeing things that feel familiar and whatever. And I think the actors did a fine job. I want to see more of Shabir, the guy that played Conan, the villain. I think he was excellent. I mean, literally, I'm like, who is that guy? And the woman playing Manju again had really good. I would look for other works that she has done. So I think everybody is being way too harsh, but
way too harsh.
As Kathy mentioned, they kind of set themselves up for this by creating such a level of hype that almost nothing could match up to the level of hype.
Yeah, if they promoted it more like a little bit of an arty action film, like a little low key, but I think they really believed in it as being a big mass movie, so they promoted it like a big mass movie. And I think the directors, like you said, first time director, the tech was amazing. He got all the top notch people. He had incredibly talented people working on this. Clearly, you just got to get it. You got to work on that script. You cannot save a movie if the script isn't good. And it's not. This is not the first movie to be brought down a notch by a script that's not really polished or tight enough. It's like lots of movies have problems with scripts. That's like the main problem. And it's like, to me, it's like that's where the money should be spent. Like, yeah, you should have big spectacle, but spend a little bit more time on the script. But overall, this was a totally fun movie. I saw it was not like, I was saying, what's everybody complaining about? This is totally fun. He was great. It had all this fun action stuff. So give the artist some time. Let people develop and mature as artists. Let them try new things. Let them branch out. I mean, I don't confine an artist because then you're just going to get the same thing over and over again. So I'm highly supportive of this film. Like, with all its flaws, it's not the perfect movie. But overall, I think it was an enjoyable time. People need to, calm down a little bit.
Exactly.
So
definitely agree.
That is our take on King of Kotha, but there's more. Now we have Melanie.
And yes,
part 3 coming. Wait, there's more. Don't leave. No, do leave. You need to jump over to Melanie's channel at Pardaisy Reviews and see part 3 of our review of King of Kotha. Okay, see you guys later. Bye.
Thank you.